This is the tale of Rachel, the girl who climbed the tower to see the stars, and Balm, the boy who needed nothing but her. Why does Rachel need to see the stars? Why does Balm care so deeply for her? Why is my hairline receding at age 20? Well,
答えは常に塔の上にある。
now I'm sure you read the title and were thinking, wow Claw, is this show seriously that good that you're glazing it that much, comparing it to One Piece of all things?
Hurry up and let me write it! Hurry up and let me write it!
Yes, I'm currently performing the triple Gok 9000 on that thing. But just let me explain myself, okay?
Please, just hear me out, please!
Tower of God is a South Korean manhwa released as a webtoon written and illustrated by SIU or CU. Season 1 of its anime released in 2020 and it was well liked by everyone, especially for its unique art style.
I've been roaming around.
Then Season 2 released in 2024, receiving a lot of questionable reviews on the art style change and the overall lackluster animation. However, regardless of this, the story itself is a treat, and to explain why, I'm just going to start off with Now, I know I made a video over a year ago glazing JJK beyond my wildest dreams. Tower of God's world building is insane and its progression is what appeals to me. The sense of climbing and growing and unraveling the world is something that just strikes my brain different. Learning various history and cultures of each floor, the history of the tower itself and some of its major players, but that comes later. Now, I can't believe I'm even giving this name in this video, but SAO. Tower of God is what SAO could have done, with the slow progression of each floor, making the climb and the growth pay off much more, but also just overall feel more believable. Watching Balm and Co go through each floor strangely feels like you and the audience are fully there for the journey. There are time skips in the show, but not so many that you don't know what or where the character is. Providing some cool and major examples of brilliant world building, Name Hunt Station Arc, a train station that resides on the 39th floor in which the inhabitants are able to steal each other's names. The way it works is that by placing your hand on someone else's back for 10 seconds you steal their name, in which the loser cannot use that name again unless they reclaim it. The loser then becomes unnamed and cannot leave the station. In this arc you uncover the history of the station and how it came to be and the lore behind some of the first 2 seasons of Climbing the Tower you hear nothing but stories and ominous things about the 10 family heads and the various sins they've committed. Genocide, assault, eugenics, you know, just the usual stuff. And even if we haven't been shown more of the crazy things they've done, it's made clear, abundantly clear, that they will do whatever they want, when they want, whenever they like.
Why? Because we fucking can! Because we fucking can!
It's only until season 3 you get way more of them on screen, but they're always described as the boogeymen of the tower.
Art, I don't want to alarm you, but there may be a boogeyman or boogeymen in the house!
The outer and the inner towers. The tower is so huge that each floor is the size of North America. People can be tower-born, live on floor whatever, and not even know about the greater world around them, or that they're even in the tower to begin with. They could hear that a war happened on another floor, billions could die, and it's not even something that's widely spread. The outer tower is where people live and reside, and the inner tower is what allows regulars to climb. However, one of the coolest floors on the tower is the Floor of Death. The name in of itself says a lot about the floor that even the rankers refuse to set foot on it. The history of this floor is so unbelievably amazing that I feel I need to share it with you, as the story behind it I think is just crazy. A messenger from outside makes their way onto the 43rd floor and starts massacring everyone after seeing them celebrate the death of a crazy figure. The messenger Enryu is forced to fight an administrator after they feel the need to step in to stop the slaughter, before Enryu just kills one with ease, making the Shinzu in this floor uncontrolled and unstable. It became home to many criminals as they can't be held accountable for their actions. Now, I know I mentioned a few things that probably don't make much sense on their own without prior context, so let me just explain. An administrator. The first people to climb the tower were Jahad and the other 12 warriors. They were tested by the administrators on each floor, These administrators are essentially gods of each floor and govern the lifeblood and the Shinzu on each of these floors. They are basically considered almighty beings. That was the thing Enryu killed.
You're bad. Skill issue. You crashed your car into my house, and I have the skill issue? Just move your house out of the way next time.
Now, I mentioned something called Shinzu. Well, that's our story's power system. It's essentially the lifeblood and the essence of the tower, being a tool for combat and manipulation. If I had to compare it to something, it's basically cursed energy from JJK. However, scaling from shooting a little water to creating a full-on black hole. However, to control it, you need to be contracted by an administrator to be allowed to use it. Also important to note that when entering the tower, you'll be granted a role for Shinzu control, which I will name now. Fisherman, main offensive position, considered the strongest of 1v1 battle, rushes into the heat of actions and usually focuses on physical attacks. Spearbearer. Snipers using spears for long distance attacks can also use their spears for close combat, similar to fishermen. Lightbearer. Controls lighthouses and responsible for delivering info to the rest of the team, guiding them and often strategizing. The most support-oriented position. A scout. Reconnaissance, usually running ahead of the team and then delivering information back to the lightbearer, can also help the fisherman with offense. A wave controller specializes in controlling Shinzu. They fire at a distance, heal wounds, and subtly change the tide of battle. And finally, a guide/navigator, a very rare special position without a role in combat. They can see the future and optimal paths of action, guiding the team. Guides are considered blessed by the tower due to their rare nature. Now, you've probably heard me use this term and think, what does this even mean? Well, let me explain. When chosen by Head-On, the tower's caretaker, you become a regular. As you climb the tower, your rank increases going from F rank regular to D, C, B, and then A. After that, you then receive the title of Ranker, Advanced Ranker, the top 10% of rankers, and then High Ranker, the top 1% of rankers. It takes many years to climb the tower, and the title of Ranker alone has a lot of standing. Well, in Season 1 and 2 it did anyway.
I'm Diamond 1.
The most interesting thing is the outliers of the tower, aka known as... The process of entering the tower is to be chosen and invited by caretaker Head-On, therefore being bound to the rules of the tower. However, an irregular is someone who enters the tower on their own, pushing the doors open and entering on their own will, and therefore cannot be bound by the rules of the tower like regulars. This grants unique abilities such as major improved Shinzu control as a result of not being bound by a contract. For example, King Jarhard is immortal due to his status as king, however an irregular is not bound to listen to that rule. This is what our golden boy hero Balm is. Now I'd say is a good time to start talking about some of the... Balm is our golden boy for the show, and whilst his character and personality are not very different to most typical hero characters, he still stands out. However, he is still flawed in some regards, meant to be a kind, loving person despite all the stuff he's been through, aka being trapped in a cave for years. As an irregular wave controller, due to his irregular nature, he was handpicked by the criminal organization Thug to be their assassin for them, climb the tower and face Jarhard on their behalf. Balm was forced into the role of becoming a god due to his history and abilities, a contrast to how his character usually is. However, he isn't without flaws. One of my favourite moments is Balm going a little bit psycho in Season 2 of the manhwa. When him and Rachel reunite, he becomes obsessive and a bit stalker-like, saying stuff like he'll drag her back to the caves with force, and that all of this will return to normal. Which is a fun to read, not because it's right or, yeah, serves a right, whatever Reddit quote you want to insert here, but because I'd argue it's the most real we've seen him. Bro 90% of the time is a cute patootie with the ability to fuck people up, but here I'd argue is the most human we've seen him. It's the nature of it being fucked up that makes it entertaining to watch. It's the most flawed we've ever seen him. Balm is mostly driven by his determination to protect those around him, mostly the people he met on the second floor. His initial goal was to chase after Rachel and find answers. Speaking of... motivated by her want to see the stars at the top of the tower. However, as you watch the first season, it becomes clear that that's not all she desires. Rachel is also an irregular, but not in the same way that Balm is. You see, when Balm opened the door to the tower, she basically got dragged in with him. She followed him into the tower because she wasn't chosen by head-on, therefore not an irregular, but she did open the doors, so she doesn't have the qualities of an irregular. To put it bluntly, bit of a tapeworm to be honest. In fact, compared to most of the cast, if not the entire cast, she is amongst the weakest character, which is the point. Someone so determined to achieve their goal, they will do anything they can to achieve it. Because she is weak, she can't power her way to the top, so she has to manipulate, steal, and have allies surrounding her that they can fight for her, taking the Blackbeard approach basically. All of these musts lead to betrayal so big, it's basically listed in top 10 anime betrayals. There's a reason she's the author's favorite character, and also Reddit's most hated character. Her character is kind of a massive spectrum, especially on Reddit. There's two ends to the spectrum. One end, it's she's pure evil and what a bitch, and then the other end is she's done nothing wrong. I stand in the middle personally. I know that's, considered fence sitting in this day and age, but let me just explain. If you're not gifted in Shinzu talent, fair enough. Do what you must. She is also doing some crazy stuff, like removing a dude's legs with a smile, partnering with a dude that has a kill count in the billions. Problem with this isn't her actions, but also how the tower encourages this behavior. It's why there's such a huge thing in the community on whether she's evil or just following the culture of the climb. You think it'd be easier for her to just join Balm to climb the tower. I mean, he initially decided after the second floor test to help her, but as Head-On says, it's not the stars she desires, but becoming one. She basically suffers from main character syndrome. She despises Balm for being able to achieve all the things she couldn't do, so she resents him. So badly, she betrays him at the end of the administrator test, attempting to kill him, in an attempt to be the next child of prophecy so badly. She clearly knows a lot that we don't know, especially when it comes to Jahad. We don't know much about him, but his introduction was the coldest in the series. He is mostly a mystery for a good chunk of the story, one of the first irregulars to climb the tower of the other 13 Great Warriors. He stopped the climb at floor 134, making a deal with the administrators to become king of the tower. Hearing nothing but stories of some of the crazy shit he's done, his appearance at the end of season 2 of the manhwa is without a doubt the best payoff for his character. Meeting his younger self for the first time has the coldest opener. I am the one who will become king. That's right. I am destined to rule to the very top of this tower. The first and greatest adventure in this tower. With the red third eye on my forehead and a crimson cape wrapped around me, I am Jahad. It's not just Jahad either. Most villains written in Tower of God are especially well done and reek of, what's the term the youngsters use nowadays? Yes, aura. Who else reeks of aura? Well, it feels bad saying this, but there's not too much to say about him other than him and Balm being the best of bros. Hell, the dude literally sent a team of assassins to hunt down Rachel after what she did to Balm. Need someone like that in my life. Most importantly, he is cold as hell, literally and figuratively. I am not a light bearer because I am weak. I just like ordering people around. He is essentially the brain of the operation. Now, there are plenty of characters I could talk about, but we'd be here all day, so I figured I'd provide the best examples. Oh yeah, there's also a talking alligator in the series, in case you didn't know.